Hello, this is Statler Smith. You are watching one installment of a weekly series where I write an essay about something that's on my mind, record myself speaking that essay, and then upload that video to YouTube. For reasons set forth in the initial video in this series, this is a practice for myself. As such, this video will likely not be entertaining or particularly educational. Perhaps one day I will have value to add to others, but in the words of Aragorn, King of Gondor, it is not this day. If you choose to keep watching, feel free to give feedback on the clarity of thought and speech, as that is what I am trying to improve. Please let me know if you have undergone a similar journey or have tips to share. And who knows, maybe I will eventually add more video editing. With that, let's get into this week's essay.
Oh, this week's essay is about a maxim I came across the other day. Everything you want is on the other side of cringe. Now, I want to make this clear. I want things. In the vaguest sense of the word, I want things. I feel a desire for a higher salary, bigger muscles, inner peace, connection with my wife and daughter, and, other people too, but mostly them. And other things. So hearing that those things that I want, that I desire, are on the other side of anything, frankly, warrants a second look. So the first look here, of course, starts at the beginning. If what I want is on the other side of cringe, what is it that I want? Frankly, I believe people don't put enough thought or energy into identifying what it is they actually want. Before I mentioned I want a higher salary, which is absolutely true. Why do I want that? On reflection, I want the higher salary because of the downstream benefits it provides. Greater sense of financial security, cool things, more games, status, right? And I know people who have houses, and I don't. And a higher salary would help me get a house. Now, I know that depending on who you talk to, a house is not a wealth building asset, but that's a discussion for a different time. If I examine those downstream desires, there's a few that I'd like to get rid of. Mostly the desire for status. It's kind of useless. It's kind of a useless desire to have status. I also probably don't need more things. Regardless, I am accosted with those desires. Whether or not I try to ignore them, they prop up, usually at the most inopportune moments. And frankly, wanting a higher salary also has other benefits as well. Financial security, that's a good thing. Supporting my wife and daughter, that's a good thing. So I'll save the discussion for cleaning up my desires for another day, and I'll spend my time here analyzing how that higher salary is on the other side of cringe. Plus, there's other thing I want as well. I want connection with people, my wife and daughter. Is there anything downstream from that? There's possibly just like a sense of connection. If I feel connected to them, it means I belong with them and I have a place and all that. I'm useful. Other than that, I think it's just feeling the enjoyment of the connection with another human being, which apparently is on the other side of cringe. But how? What is it about cringe that prevents us from getting what we want? Now, if you haven't noticed, I'm not that hip or cool or trendy as the youths of my parents' generation would say. So I had to look up and figure out what cringe meant. And now I assume that the definition, bend one's head and body in fear of apprehension or in a servile manner, is not the intended definition used in this maxim, but rather, we are referring to the feeling-focused definition, to have an inward feeling of acute embarrassment or awkwardness. To me, this is mostly related to that feeling of like my insides shriveling up, right? If I feel like my heart is like has shrunk 2 sizes too small, like the Grinch. My muscles contract inward, and I just kind of like hunker down, and I'm like cringing. But it's an internal feeling. That's what I call cringe. Now, indulge my philosophical splitting of hairs for a moment. I don't think the feeling itself, like that cringing feeling, prevents us from getting what we want. I think it's rather how we respond to that feeling. We can approach any action that we know will cause that acute embarrassment, and we can shrink from that action and not take that action. Nobody is the wiser. The only outcome is that we walk away with knowledge that we didn't do something that we wanted to do, or that we thought about doing. And depending on who you are, that either gnaws at you or is forgotten in the next few minutes. So if cringe is that feeling of acute embarrassment or awkwardness, what actions cause that feeling of acute embarrassment or awkwardness? In my experience in my life, most any action that includes the following attributes causes that feeling. Attribute 1, if the action will make me more visible to people. Action 2, or attribute 2, if the action will give people a potential cause to think less of me. It's a terrible trap, because if I shy away from saying something or taking an action because of these attributes, I feel like I'm being played like a marionette. I hate that. I hate being played. I hate other people controlling me. When I retreat from the advancing cringeness, I slink away with my legs between my tails because I know that I'm letting them control me. I'm letting, not even them, I'm letting what I think they might do control me. And I'm also an introvert, right? So I honestly don't want to speak up that often. I don't always want to talk to people. But that means that when I do want to, I'm out of practice. Takes a little bit of extra oomph to actually get the words out. Now, as you can see, I am quite adept at providing excuses for my cowardice. When I do break from under the oppressive, when I do break out from under the oppressive hand of cringe, I rarely regret it. In fact, it's usually a better scenario for everybody. I feel like I'm being true to myself. Cringe is focused on being embarrassed by other people. So when I break through, it's like flipping off the part of me that cares about what other people think. Now, for somebody who has cared almost exclusively about what other people think, it's like breaking chains and freeing my wings. And with the chains off and the wings free, I go further, I fly farther, I run faster. All of those platitudes that don't actually give you detail. So let's look at the detail. Let's look at the specific mechanisms. When I no longer care about what other people think of me, I take more risks, right? If caring about what other people think is a barrier, and if that barrier is gone, I take more risks. More risks generally equals more reward, particularly for somebody like me who is far too risk averse for my own good. For example, this whole essay writing, video recording project, it's pretty new, right? I think this is my 12th essay. But I remember how risky it felt when I was getting started. At this point, of course, I'm comfortable because I have evidence that nobody watches these videos, so I have that little blanket of comfort there. But before I hit publish on the first video, there were so many what ifs, right? I was struck with like a spike of fear. What if my family sees it and brings it up? I've mentioned my family a couple times in these essays, so that may or may not be good. What if my friends see it, all 5 of them, and ask me what the heck I think I'm doing? Who do I think I am to, start putting videos on YouTube? They don't even need to say anything, frankly, because just the possibility that somebody I know might see what I'm doing and could somehow think less of me because of it is makes me cringe. And just the fact that they don't even have to say anything, I don't even have to know that they see it. Just the possibility that they might brings in a whole new wave of possibilities, whole new wave of what ifs. I won't even know if people think less of me because people are nice usually, except for me. But as you know, I ended up hitting the publish button, and my life has become a lot better. Maybe yours hasn't as a result of my action because you're watching this, and these are rather boring videos, but I have felt a palpable shift in my life. It feels like night and day. It's wild, and that never would have happened if I'd let the cringe lords, the fear of others' thoughts, keep me from publishing the first video, or the second, or the third, etc. But by this point, I'm comfortable that nobody's watching. Now, is everything I want on the other side of cringe? Or at least put another way, will I have to get through some cringy feelings to sincerely go for what I want? Yeah, I will. Cringe seems to be one of the gatekeepers to living the life you want. There are more gatekeepers, but cringe is definitely one of those. If you're watching this, I'm confident the same applies to you as well. I'm confident that if you waded through a little more cringe, you could have a little more of what you want. So go for it. I don't really know what you want, and I don't really know how averse you are to cringe, but I've taken a jump. More of a step, really. And to date, I have seen no monetary value, no monetary return for taking that jump. But my life is better anyways. And so because of that, I am confident that yours can be too. So thanks for watching, and I hope that you can overcome a little bit of cringe in your life to live the life that you want. Thank you.